Hi, Eric Gimbal, ericgimbal.com, and today, thanks to Photoshop.com, I'm going to present you the Panasonic Lumix G90. Let's start. Well, first of all, thank you very much to Photoshop.com for lending me the camera. This is the only one they've received. This is the demo camera, so they told me we need it, we'll lend it to you for a weekend. And so thank you very much, because it's not much time for testing, but it gives me an idea. I will pass you some video and photos I've made. There are not that many because I had a problem with my van, so I could not go exactly where I wanted to go. It's at the workshop fixing it, but I was still able to make some pictures and video to see how it works. By the way, this camera is also known as G95. So today maybe it will be a bit noisy because there are some kids playing around, but this is the place where I could sit and record, so let's see how it goes. So first of all, I'm going to give you some specs, and then I will tell you my opinion. This is a micro four third sensor with a 20.3 megapixels. It has stabilization on 5 axes, which is really good. It has sensor cleaning with ultrasound. This is a system that works really well. I've got it on my Olympus, and I've not cleaned the sensor since I've got them. This is like over 3 years, almost 4 years. So I must say this is a really efficient system. Many people like that kind of camera for vlogging and video. Actually, they see it as a small G5. I'll speak a bit about video, a bit more than maybe photography, because many people are curious about that. So let's speak about video straight away. It does 4K in 30, 25 and 24p at 100 megabits. In Full HD, you get 60, 50, 30 and 25p. You don't get 24 in Full HD. It goes at 28 and 20 megabits. And in HD 720, you get 30 and 25p. You can do slow-mo, but just in Full HD, not in 4K. And you get 120, 190, 75, 60 and 50p. And I know some people would have liked to see 60p at least in 4K or 50p in 4K, but it's not there. The maximum recording time is unlimited by your battery or your card, but you can actually connect USB charging, a power bank on the side, so via USB. So if you have a really large memory card, you can actually record quite a bit of time. It's really interesting for people who don't want this typical 30-minute limit. I was editing the video and I forgot to speak about the ISO, so I passed you some picture from 800 up to 25,600 ISO, and this camera lets you go from 200 up to 25,600. I think the results are really good up to 3200. They're really acceptable. I know some people will say, yeah, but I would love to have 12,000 ISO, things like this. Really, when you know how to use a micro four third camera, and if that camera has also a stabilization as the Olympus or this Panasonic or many micro four third, you realize that you never need to put your ISO really high, except if you do action photography. Then if it's sport photography or night sport photography, then yeah, that may be a problem. But for normal use, here I put you some night photography I've made, and the quality is really okay. So really, I think this camera is really fine up to 3200, which I think is really okay for micro four third and for photography in general, really good. The screen is 3-inch. It's fully articulated, which is really great if you want to do some vlogging and see yourself in there. And it's fully touchable, so I think this is a really nice screen. The ergonomy is really nice. I mean, you've got it in your hand, it's not too big, not too small. You really hold it really nice. The buttons are really great placed. I think they're nice. It's a bit different than the G85 that was before. Now you have a wheel here that moves. You have less button here. It's less confused. I think it's easier to use. And they've made something that is great. Here you have, when you touch, the feeling is different. White balance is like the button is a bit rounded. ISO button is like you have 2 small notch on it. And then you have compensation is really flat. So actually, without removing your eye from the viewfinder, you actually touch and you know exactly what you're touching. So I need the ISO, easily I can locate it. I think this is really brilliant. That's a really great idea. It looks like for blind people that actually have similar things when reading. No, I think it's great. And all buttons are really well placed. Here you have the switch for the kind of autofocus you want, continuous, single or manual focus. It's really nice. They've put some function button, and even here you have on this wheel, you have the function button here. By default it's white balance and ISO, but if you want to use here, you have those two, and you can use this button for another function. You program it the way you want. And here you have also the wheel that tells you if it's what you're doing exactly, self-timer, all this, burst and all this. It's really easy to use. I think it's a nice camera, and it really holds nice in your hand. The autofocus is a contrast system. It doesn't use a face detection. I think it is a bit of a problem. I think it would be good to have face detection on this too. It has face and also eye detection, but it works okay. But I think it would be better to have a face detection. Would be a lot better. Not face detection, face detection. Okay, I think would be a lot better. I mean, it's time that even that kind of camera use this. I think. Speed, bulb time is maximum 30 minutes, and I think this is really little. If you want to do a long exposure, 30 minutes is really too short for me. I don't do that kind of pictures, but I know some people they need like 1 hour, so 30 minutes is too little. The fastest possibility is 4,000th of a second, and with a mechanical shutter would be nice to have 8,000. And if you do the electronic shutter, it's 16,000. But not everyone likes the electronic shutter because you can get some rolling shutter. So I think it could have pushed it to 8,000. Bracketing, it's really well prepared for bracketing. For exposure, you have 3, 5 and 7 pictures in a row, so you can actually have you can choose after the best picture. Aperture bracketing 3 and 5 pictures. Focus bracketing from 1 to 999 pictures, so after you stick them all together, and so it gives you more depth of field, because you can actually have the focus point that is moving forward or backward, and it's great for macro photography, for example. White balance, you can get 3 pictures, so with 3 different white balance. Panorama picture, I'll pass you a picture I've made. They all work the same way. It's very easy. Everyone knows how to do it. They have it, and it's good. Okay. Burst rate up to 9 frames per second. For some people that's a lot. For some people that's little. It really depends what you need to do. I think on mirrorless it's almost in the lower range. Many have a bit more. Panasonic has a system called 4K photography, 4K photos. So it actually makes a small video burst, and then you extract the picture, the frame you want. So in that case, it goes up to 30 images per second. Obviously, 4K resolution is not the same as 20 megapixel raw resolution, but well, this option exists. It has an integrated flash here. Okay, it's synchronized at 200th of a second. I think they could have pushed to 250th, but well, for that kind of camera, that's acceptable. I'll show you a picture I made of a cactus. Actually, I put the flash so it's lit properly, and as a shadow filling, it's okay, it works. Obviously, this camera has, like every camera nowadays, the scene mode and filters. It means like if you don't know how to set your camera yourself, I mean, you can put portrait mode, night mode, landscape, whatever. There are many pre-setting. And also filters if you want black and white or whatever. For people who don't want to do post-processing, filters may be useful. And for people who don't know how to work in manual mode, having this scene like portrait, landscape, all this may help them to learn how to work in manual, because first they do the automatic setting, then they check what the camera has made, and they learn from this, and then pass on to the manual mode with the same setting, and then they can start fine-tuning to their taste. Very often people criticize this automatism. If you always use them and you're happy with it, that's great. But if you want to learn manual mode, having this as a guide, it's always useful when you're starting. Connectivity, first here you have one SD card, and then so connectivity on the side, you have connector for headphone, connector for remote control, Micro USB, they didn't put the USB-C, it's a bit strange nowadays, but okay, micro USB and the micro HDMI. And here at the top you have a connector for microphone. I think this is great. I've put the microphone here, so if you're doing some vlogging and then you want to turn the screen, it doesn't bother you, so that's fine. You're doing some video and you want to move the screen, it's possible. But if you have the headphone on, then the cable will bother the screen anyway. So I think this idea to put the microphone connector here is a great idea. I think they should have put together the microphone and the headphone connector, I think. Regarding the remote control, I don't know if many people use remote control nowadays, because you can actually connect via your telephone with the app. It has a Wi-Fi and Bluetooth, so you can actually do all the remote control via your telephone. But well, if you want to have a hand trigger with a remote control, well, that's possible. You have a cable for that, you have a connector for the cable for that. With battery and SD card, the body weighs 553 grams, so it's really light, it's nice, it's okay. So now I'm going to tell you about the pros and the cons according to my opinion. The pros, I think the ergonomy, the way it feels in your hand is great, it's nice. The wheels and buttons are really well placed, really smooth, easy to use, nice. I really like it, really nice to use. It is weather sealed and dust proof. And I think obviously you're not going to take a shower with a camera like this, but I think this is great. Don't forget that when a body is sealed, you also need a sealed lens, otherwise some water can get into the humidity or dust can get into the camera anyway. So many people think body sealed is equal to everything sealed, and that's not the way it works, okay? So don't forget about that. The fact that it has a charging USB, I think is a really good feature nowadays, especially if you're making video. This is a really nice camera to use, really nice in hand, easy to use. Menus are okay. Obviously they're not that simple because there are many features, but they're okay to use. I think this is a nice camera for vloggers because video is okay and all this. So I'm going to show you something I made about vlogging, so you can have an idea, walk and see how it looks, okay?
Okay, vlogging test. I'm hand holding the camera. This is a sound direct from the camera microphone. No idea how it comes out. I'm walking a bit so you can see the weight compensating exposure, whether I am in the shade or in bright light. The sound is a sound direct from the microphone, the camera microphone. I'm not using any external microphone, so you see how it works, okay? And you can evaluate the stabilization when I walk.
The fact that he has a microphone and headphone connectors is a big plus, especially for vlogging and video. The buttons that have a different feeling depending what function they have, I think it's a really great idea. I think it should be used in all the cameras because it's really, you can blind touch it and know exactly what you're doing. This is brilliant. Stabilization, when? Well, I'm going to show you first. I made some tests walking and it looks really nice to me. I thought it was great. I'll show you now.
Testing stabilization.
And then I decided to run, and I show you.
More stabilization test. I'm running right now and holding the camera, so you can have a look at how it stabilizes the recording.
As you can see, when running, it really moves like this, a bit shaky. It's really strange because like tick, 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 tick. So I didn't like it at all, and then I realized there was a button, a function in the menu that says you can have electronic stabilization as well. So I show you.
More stabilization test running. I've put on the electronic stabilization. I suppose it crops, not sure. Hand holding. I was not convinced by the first part because it was really shaky. Let's see how it comes out this.
As you can see, I don't see any difference. It's really shaky, so I do think if you're going to do some action video and you're going to run, you definitely need a gimbal because the correction and the stabilization is really shaky. Maybe it's a configuration problem and setting. I didn't do it properly, but to me, I would need to maybe investigate more. But I tried several settings and it always came out like this. So I think for walking, stabilization is really nice in video. If you speak in photography, obviously it's perfect. but if you're going to do video and you're moving a lot, that's not useful. Cons or lacking things. I think they could have put a high-res option that now many cameras, Olympus was among the first with Hasselblad, now Sony has just came out with that, and Panasonic has it on some models, which is high-res. It actually moves the sensor off a pixel or 1 pixel, and it makes like 8 pictures, and then it stitch them together, and you really get a high-res picture. I think they could have put that on this camera. There is no 6K photo. Panasonic is among the only one who do this 4K and 6K photography. It actually make this small video and you get the frame you want. As 4K is not as much resolution as 20 megapixels, I think it would be nice to have a 6K. They do it on some cameras, so they could have put it on this one too. Bad thing, if you do video, when you do 4K, you have a crop, so you actually will need a wider lens for the same result. And this does not happen in Full HD, but here on this camera you do have a crop on 4K, and I think it's a pity. Many people look at this camera as an alternative, a cheaper alternative to G5, so I think it would be nice not to have that crop. It's a bit disappointing to have this. I forgot about video. They have one good thing, they've put the vlog, so actually if you want to do a flatter image when recording video and then color grade it in post-production, it's possible. You have the vlog, but it's just it's an 8-bit video. You don't have all the possibility of color grading that you would be with a 10-bit video, obviously. In video, I think the autofocus is not as good as we could expect. The fact that it's just contrast instead of phase detection doesn't make it, sometimes you lose actually the focusing, and it's a bit of a pity. I think they could have bettered that. When you do slow-mo, you don't have manual exposure, you have compensation, but you cannot do manual exposure, things you can do with the rest, Full HD and 4K in the other speeds. But in fast speed, which we give you a small slow-mo, it sounds the other way around, but it is the way it is. And then you cannot do manual exposure. I think it's a pity. Someone who is serious about video will like to do manual exposure always. If you think this camera is one that comes after the G85, what's the difference with the G85? Well, really, photography-wise, not much. And I think in video, yes, you have the vlog and the unlimited recording time, but really that's it. And I really expected a lot more from that camera. Many people have been waiting for a long time for this G90, and I think Panasonic stayed really short. I think they want to protect the G5 that is still selling a lot, and they don't want to give you too much. It's like you have a G5 and they've been cutting many things not to give you that G5. And I understand this commercial policy, but I really wonder if it's worth paying the difference with the G85. If you wanted the G90 just for photography, you can get the G85. There are really good prices now, or second-hand or whatever. And for video, yeah, get the G90 because of the color grading possibility thanks to the vlog and the unlimited recording time. I would buy the G90 only if I'm the kind of person who keep the camera for 3, 4, 5 years. So when you resell it, it still has some value. If it was not for the body stabilization, for photography really, because for video, if you're walking, yes, but otherwise, you've seen it. Maybe an XT30 by Fujifilm or an Alpha 6400 by Sony maybe is a better option. I'm not sure. If you already have some Micro Four Thirds lenses, obviously this is a good choice. But I think they really stayed short. I really expected a lot more from that camera. I don't know what I expected, but my feeling is we need to upgrade the camera because the G85 has been out for some time. But we cannot give you much because we have a G5 that sells really well, and this is the feeling I have. Okay, thank you very much to Photosula for lending me the camera. Thanks to you for watching the video. If you feel it could help anyone, please share it on social network. If you have not done yet, please subscribe to my YouTube channel. The small button down here and the small bell. If you click on it, you will receive a notification when I upload a new video. My website, ericgimbal.com. If you have any question, you can leave a comment below, send me an email to info@ericgimbal.com, And below I also put links of my gear on Amazon and also links to other parts of my YouTube channel. Thank you very much. Bye.